Hi there, and welcome to your free time management course, which is brought to you by Professional Futures Limited. My name is Lindsay Heeks and I'll be your tutor for the duration of this course. So that you know, I've broken down your course into 9 parts, which shouldn't take any longer than 5 minutes each, which will be easy for you to watch in your little time gaps, which is something that we'll be talking about a little bit later today. So what can you expect to learn from this short course on time management? Well, we'll be focusing on the benefits of time management and why it's so important to you and your staff to manage your time in a more efficient manner. And within this course, I'm going to be giving you 10 top tips to effectively manage your time. So before we move on to your course, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of the free time management tools that we'll be giving to you. So within this course, you'll have access to 2 tools. One is a time thief analysis tool, very interesting, and the other is a time management grid that you can use in order to manage your time more effectively. So please make sure you take advantage of these tools. I'm sure you'll find them really useful. So I'm absolutely certain that we've all heard the excuse of I haven't got the time, or it may well be that you've actually used this excuse yourself, especially when it comes to perhaps going to the gym or doing that task that you actually don't fancy. But consider that the only person to blame for your lack of time is actually you. Alright, so this course is all about ensuring that you work smarter, okay, so that you can actually achieve more. And the key with it is that we're expensive. Time is an expensive commodity. So what we're wanting to do is to ensure that you create value for money in terms of your pay, your hourly pay. So why is time management so important? Well, I think this quote that I brought to you from a gentleman called Cyril Northcott Parkinson. Now, Cyril actually wrote this quote at the beginning of an essay that he actually had published in The Economist back in 1955. But if we read this quote, if you like, this law, I think you'll be able to relate to it. So the amount of time which one has to perform a task is the amount of time it will take to complete that task. So I can absolutely relate to this, especially if I think about my ironing. So if I have a pile of ironing to do and I've allocated the Jeremy Kyle show for me to complete that ironing, no matter how big that ironing is, I will still complete all that ironing within the Jeremy Kyle show. So if you think about it in relation to your work day, so one day you might actually have 6 tasks that needs to be done in 3 hours, but then the next day you might only have 3 tasks that need to be done within those 3 hours. When you've done those 3 tasks, you will find that actually you've took the entire 3 hours to do those 3 tasks, as opposed to taking half that time. So Parkinson's law is something that we all need to think about when we're effectively managing our time. So what are the benefits of time management? Well, I think we all might think this is obvious, but let's go through each one point by point. Okay, so the first one is that effective time management will reduce stress and frustration. So by planning effective use of your time, you will find that you can achieve a lot more. Now, the second point is that time management improves your own performance within your job and your own job satisfaction. So if you're finding that you can actually work smarter, then your performance will actually increase. Now, the third point is you'll have more time to enjoy your life. By working the hours that you should be doing rather than constant overtime, this will mean that you can have more personal time, therefore reducing the amount of stress that you might be experiencing, as mentioned a little bit earlier on. Now, the fourth point is you will find that you have more control over your life, and that's through planning. Planning is key to feeling in control, and for those of you who are a bit similar to me, a bit of a control freak, you will find that there's been time to time where you felt yourself spiralling out of control, and that's because you actually haven't planned your time effectively. It can feel quite cathartic when you sit down and start to take control of your life, even if it's just by writing a to-do list. And the final point is that you will get a greater sense of achievement. So more time means that you've got more time to spend on high value tasks, which would actually result in a greater sense of achievement for yourself, whether you work for yourself or whether you work for an organisation. So if you're finding that you don't have enough time, then you need to ask yourself 2 questions. The first question is, what are we trying to achieve? What are our objectives, whether they're personal or organisational? And then the second question is, what stands in the way of achieving those objectives? What barriers are we facing, and how can we actually overcome them? So here are the top 10 tips that we're going to discuss over the next 8 parts of this course. So the first tip is we're going to look at eliminating or reducing time wastage. So we'll look at this by analysing what we currently do and figuring out what we can get rid of. The second tip is that we'll be looking at goal setting using SMART, and also implementing those SMART principles into all our objective setting. The third one is by effective planning. And you'll do this by using certain tools that I'm sure you are absolutely using, but maybe not as effectively as you could do. The fourth one is by overcoming procrastination. So in other words, let's look at the things that we constantly put off, and let's think about why we keep putting them off and crack on with it. And the fifth tip is by prioritising your time. So that is all about understanding what is urgent and important to yourself and to your organisation. Moving on to the next 5 tips. Tip number 6 is about making effective decisions. We will look at how to make more effective decisions using a technique known as koala. So all will become clear a little bit later on in the course. Tip number 7 is by delegating. So you will learn how to delegate more effectively, which will therefore end up with you having more time available. Tip number 8 is by looking at your time gaps, and we'll lump that in with using your time twice as well. So that's about essentially achieving far more within the time that you have available. And the last tip number 10, is about being more assertive. Okay, so that's looking at you agreeing to things that perhaps either aren't yours to do or aren't key to your own personal objectives. So we're going to look at the ability to actually say no. Okay, so this is the end of the first part, so I'll look forward to talking to you again in part 2.